Hello there, and welcome to the weekly outlook. We're just going through the calendar and having a look at next week's events. There's really just three major events that we're looking to manage to make profit from, and that's going to be the uh, monetary policy on the Australian dollar and the Canadian dollar BOC monetary policy report, BOC rate statement, overnight rate, and press conference on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we've got ECB press conference, minimum bid rate as well. There are a few other events, but they're all on the same sort of currency pairs. So, really, it just sort of limits us to trading the euro, the Canadian, and the Australian dollar next week. There is a little alert. Well, I will say a little alert. There is a alert out on the pound as well, which is the retail sales figure. But the it's not really going to be a huge market mover in comparison to the other trades that we've got possibly happening there. So let's get to the charts and have a look at what we're going to do. So first one on the calendar is the Aussie dollar. Now we see here, this is the daily chart. We've had this push up here, this quite big engulfing candle here in a pullback where it's made a new low. Now we are looking for this trend, this upward trend, to come to an end now, and it starts to turn around to the downside. We had the monetary policy report out last week on the Australian dollar, which we did show that they were concerned about Chinese growth, and obviously we've had a bit of a the unemployment rate grew slightly, so we had sorry, the employment positions fell, so it wasn't great news. NAB business confidence was okay. There has been a little bit of mixed data. I think we possibly are in the longer term, maybe showing a little bit of a recovery. But one of the main concerns that I've got at the moment is the 20 basis point increase in mortgages put forward by Westpac. Now, many banks are likely to follow with this case scenario, which could cause the RBA to cut interest rates in the next meeting to keep the economy balanced due to that raise by the banks. So if that's the case, then we expect to see the Aussie dollar come down and retest this 7,000 level from the current sort of area that it's in at the moment. Now, we did have trades set up to enter at 7,260 in the live room last week, which have been triggered. So we'll be holding on to those and looking for profit through next week and through the monetary policy meeting, which is on Tuesday at 1:30, where we expect to get some further clues on whether they'll be keeping rates on hold or cutting rates next week. On the next meeting. Okay, so moving forward through the calendar, the next real interesting one we've got is the monetary policy on the Canadian dollar, the rate statement and the overnight rate. Now, I was looking at the data and going through the data that's been coming out on the Canadian dollar over the last couple of weeks, and it's not been that great. We had an increase in unemployment. We've had some GDP figures have fallen away from expectations. Obviously, we've had the oil price pushing down again over the last few days. We've had quite a drop in oil, although it did recover a little bit towards the end of the week. We have seen that drop down from its highs of $50 to the barrel all the way back down to 45, and it did finish the week at 47. But nonetheless, it has had a significant pullback. So we are looking at the Canadian dollar, not necessarily just the US dollar Canadian dollar, although the US dollar is the strongest currency at the moment. So we could be looking to buy this back. Now, I did have a longer term analysis to buy back at 128, which at the moment it seems to have missed that. So it started to rally up from just 128.34. It hasn't got any significant candlestick pattern there to suggest a turn in the trend, so we may just hold on to it through Monday, just wait through Monday and Tuesday to see if we get a further push down to the 128 level, and then look to rebuy it from the 128. We've got the press conference as well on the same day, later on the Wednesday, so it's going to be a real interesting day for the Canadian dollar. Now, there are other currency pairs that we can trade as well. Canadian dollar, we can look at So generally we're looking for weakness in the Canadian dollar, and another currency which I had a technical interest in was the CAD, the CAD yen. We actually had a head and shoulders pattern form here, but it failed to make the consistent breakthrough of the second shoulder. Although it has pulled back up, but rejected again the same sort of zone of that first shoulder. Now, if we were to take this down to a daily chart and just have a look at that, you can see um, that basically it's showing a little bit of consolidation and indecision on this last daily candle. Now, if that Canadian dollar data does come in weaker, then this whole area of resistance should be rejected, and we should see a pushback down to this area of consolidation here. So I am looking at a possible sell on CAD yen as well. Now, like I said, the other Canadian dollar pairs that we could be looking at is we could look at Aussie dollar CAD as well as a possible, although it's two weaker currencies. If one of them surprises, i.e. shows more strength than expected, i.e. if the Aussie comes in quite strong early on in the week, then we could look to buy back Aussie Canadian by Wednesday. If it's the other way around and it looks like the Aussie dollar is coming quite weak, then we could possibly look to sell Aussie dollar CAD by Wednesday in the expectations of possibly slightly better news on the Canadian dollar. Okay, so there's just really, the Canadian dollar, the Australian dollar currencies, Euro, Aussie as well. We've got that large technical breakout that we had based on this channel last couple of weeks. It did pull back in there. It's rejected the 158 level there as well. I do expect this to continue down again, but this will be reliant on either strong euro weakness or a strong Aussie dollar next week. The euro is the other currency as well that we're interested in. We've got the minimum bid rate, and we've got the statement coming from ECB press conference on Thursday, and also we've got the minimum bid rate and ECB press conference. So the euro's already started to come down against some of the major currencies. We can see it started to sell off again against the US dollar off that good CPI reading we had from the US last week. Now, what I would like to see is we did have Nawati, who's an ECB member, put forward that further tools were needed by the ECB, which suggests that further QE or an extension of the QE program is going to be put forward. So we're looking to hear any suggestions of that from this ECB press conference on Thursday. But looking to sell the euro US dollar. I'm also looking to sell it against other major currencies, such as the euro pound. We took a sell on this actually last week at 7.390, and have held on to that at the moment, and still holding on to that through to next week through that press conference, and we'll see how far that goes. But looking to sell this right down to the sort of 7.2 area as well. And so there's quite a few trades all based around those sort of three currencies, the euro, the Aussie and the Canadian next week. So keep an eye on that data, and hopefully you can make some pips. Thanks for watching.